Okay, so welcome back to Let's Study, and today we're doing a recap. All right, there's some things that stood out to me as we have been reading, and not just in First Samuel, but in the previous chapters also. And one thing that stood out as we ended First Samuel is that when one season ends, here comes another one. We can see it happening whenever Moses leaves out the picture, and then comes Joshua. And now we're seeing Saul leave out the picture as the leader. And as we enter into the beginning of Second Samuel, David is going to become a more prominent figure and going to be going from anointed to appointed. Okay, he's finally gonna go from anointed to appointed, okay, sitting in the position. So today we're standing at this hinge between these two books right now, and I just wanted to point that out to us and how this is also a representation of seasons in our life. Also, as one thing ends, the Lord is bringing in something new. And something the Lord continues to have me say out of my mouth is, behold, I do a new thing. Don't you see that it springs forth? All right. And there's a new thing that the Lord is doing in many of our lives during this time. And whenever you may catch this, the Lord is always doing a new thing, boo. Okay. He keeps it fresh and new. So sometimes endings, though, it can be very painful and very tragic. And the ending that we just witnessed in First Samuel, as we ended the chapter, we saw that it was very painful. All right. So painful that I really had to pause, like, he laid on his own sword. Make the things that these people do back in the day. Okay. So that seemed very painful that he did it, and so did his armor bearer. He took himself out literally with his own sword. But I think when I think about it, really, he understood that he was going to die either way. Either he was going to die by his own hands, or they was going to torture him, basically. So he went ahead and laid on his own sword. All right. 1 Samuel 31 verse 4 says, Saul said to his armor bearer, draw your sword and run it through me, or these uncircumcised men will come and run me through and torture me. But his armor bearer would not do it because he was terrified. Then Saul took his sword and fell on it. It's very dramatic. Sometimes things end very dramatically. Okay. Then in 2 Samuel 1 verses 11 and 12, it says, then David took hold of his clothes and tore them, and all the men with him did the same. They mourned, wept, and fasted until the evening for those who died by the sword, for Saul, his son Jonathan, the Lord's people, and the house of Israel. So they're coming in on some dramatics. Okay, they're coming into 2 Samuel on some dramatics. They're leaving out with some dramatics. And that's kind of how a lot of seasons may end, and that's how a lot of seasons may begin. A lot of seasons begin with the ending. Is what I'm trying to get at. A lot of seasons begin with an ending. And we're going to see that as we move into 2 Samuel, that we're going to be dealing with an ending at the beginning of something. So this is something reflective on some of you as you are going into this new season. You've arrived in this new season and you look around and it looks the same. You're still in your ending. But don't worry, the beginning, you're going to see a bit more as you progress into the storyline of whatever your life is. So Saul falls, okay? And his consequences of his fall is his disobedience. We see that. So Saul's story ends tragically, not because God was unfaithful, but because Saul was. God gave Saul chance after chance after chance. But Saul continued to people please, fear the people, want to please the people, okay? Not be obedient to God's word, but want to be obedient to where the people are accepting of him. We continue to see that. And then he wanted the acceptance so bad. That's where his hate and anger really came in for David, is because David was getting in the way of basically what he considered his glory. All right. Saul wanted that love from the people. but he saw David getting so much more of it, and he was very jealous and envious of that. Okay, so he was a half obedient leader, and a lot of his leadership was defined by that. You can see it. And his fall was a warning that when we ignore God's voice, our story can also end in ruin. And we continue to see him do that over and over again. Receive instructions from the Lord, but do what it is he wanted to do. And this is what happens when you do what you want to do. You will fall. All right. So another lesson in this is that obedience matters. Don't treat lightly what God has spoken to you. And another thing is that Jonathan's death reminds us that sometimes the righteous suffer in transition because of who they're attached to. Jonathan was faithful. He was loyal. He had a good heart, okay? And he died along Saul, his side of his dad, Saul, okay? His death is teaching us that sometimes the righteous are caught up in the shaking also of seasons, but their legacy is different. And you can see that his legacy is different than his dad's, okay? He was faithful. He trusted in the Lord. He really had a lot of faith. Because you remember, like, around 16, I believe, 1 Samuel 16, when Jonathan went into battle, how he was so believing that the Lord was with him and that one other man. And they took down so many men, just those two men. And it was because he believed that the Lord was with him. That was his faith that was leading him. All right. So even when the righteous fall in battle, he's still remembered. And his remembrance is going to ring through in 2 Samuel is what you're going to see, okay, with his son. It's going to be a legacy that's attached to his son because of who his father was. He will even be honored, all right? We see that David tears his clothes and he weeps, but he's not just weeping for Jonathan, but he's also weeping for Saul at the same time. The same Saul that tried to kill him over and over again, okay? He wept for him because David knew that before Saul fell, he was God's anointed. And David shows the posture of transition and honoring Saul still, that we can mourn what was, but we don't curse it. We have to honor what God moves us into and out of. That means we leave places and we not cutting up when we leave places. Sometimes we just have to exit in the best way possible. The Lord may take you from a place. You ain't got to cut up because the Lord is taking you or removing you from a place or removing you from people. We have to learn how to exit the right way. All right. And so in this, the Lord is not wanting us to despise our past and the things that we have been through, and understanding that all those things were a lesson and not a loss. And if David can sit there and honor Saul as a lesson, then we can do the same things with the things that we have faced in our wilderness seasons. Okay. So this was just something that I wanted to bring to you guys' attention, that when one season ends, another begins. And a lot of times as a new season begins, it begins with the ending. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention today. I hope you guys have enjoyed the Let's Study series. We're going to be picking up back in 2 Samuel on the 1st of September. So come back and join us. And tomorrow we'll have something a little different, but similar to today. I'll see you then. Bye, you guys.